crazy water life. Hair lights, I've been with midnight through the city. I've been going through some things, trying to get my mind right. Push the bucket to the lip, push that mission to the finish. Gotta get the full control, gotta get my mind right. Hair lights, I've been with midnight through the city. I've been going through some things, trying to get my mind right. Push the bucket to the lip, push that mission to the finish. Gotta get the full control, gotta get my mind right. Flashing on these high beams, she won't step beside me, even if I'm blinded.
And what's going on, everybody? Can you guys hear me? Let me know if the audio is loud and clear. How you doing, Aisha? Can you hear me out there?
I can hear you.
Okay, Victory Monday. How you feeling on Victory Monday?
I'm trying to actually enjoy the win and not let everybody bring me down.
Well, I feel you. Well, look, you just came from the studio because I know you had the Girls Talk show. And I know that it was fire because I was watching it a little bit earlier. Can you really talk about like your experience with, working actually with the Dallas Cowboys.com?
Yeah. So, one of the dopest things I think in adulthood, especially, is like the moments where you realize like what you meant to be doing. And like the cool thing about having this job with the Cowboys for me is that I have no experience, right? Like I'm not a reporter. I don't have this in my background, but football's just been important to me my whole life. And I think it's really dope that if you ask people around me, like what this job means to me or what I'm doing, they're going to be like, yeah, like she's been saying she gonna work for the Cowboys since I was a kid, So the experience is I'm only like a month and some change in. And sometimes when I walk in, I have to remind myself like, oh yeah, you work here. I'm for real. Like it's, and everyone's been really welcoming. Like it's so crazy to meet like Nick Eatman, like all these guys that I've been watching for years. And the experience so far has been dope. I don't know, just being in a room with people that you like been looking up to and stuff. And they tell you that if you're the best person, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I feel like I'm in the right rooms right now. I love it. I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, that's dope because look, I remember meeting you for the first time at the draft. So I'm very thankful that I took that trip by myself because people were supposed to come with me. And I just met you out there and you were just getting your feet wet. You were like, man, I'm asking all these people. I think you were, was it with Vach? She was working with Vach to try
I was like,
Vach stuff.
Yeah, he gives me a lot of mentorship. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember you had just really started getting your feet wet and trying to do videos and stuff. And, we were all pissed off about the draft pick at the same time. So we actually sat down, all of us got together, and to see that, you had an opportunity to really work for the Cowboys. I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I'm very proud of you, and I'm happy for everything that's going on.
Thank you, man. The support I've gotten has really driven me like to keep going, because I definitely like Twitter is something that I was very afraid to touch. Like it's just not my thing like that. And it's been about a year now since I just got on Twitter and was like, hey y'all, like what's up? What y'all talking about? Y'all talking football? I want to do it too. And so
yeah,
supportive of me and just welcoming to me has been overwhelming sometimes in a good way in some instances. So yeah, thank you so much, DMV.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go back to that draft day, and we had that pick, and it ended up being Tyler Smith. Yeah. So what was going through your head? Because look, I can pull a receipt, so don't lie here.
Oh no, I won't lie. I won't lie. Like my initial response was, I think I was frustrated because of who else was on the board, and I think everybody was upset because they felt like everyone felt like there were better people on the board. Now I will say to my credit, I that night I got into like really looking into Tyler Smith more, and then I was like, okay, let's just wait and see what we get. And this gentleman has came in and improved. I mean, from the minute you saw him at mini camp to OTAs to training camp till now, like he is constantly improving in ways that like we were asking him to, or what we were worried about. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The guys that I wanted still on the board because obviously certain guys were gone, but I still wanted Dean, who hasn't suited up yet. So that would have been a mistake. But the other two guys that I wanted might not have been mistakes. I wanted Linderbaum
Mm-hmm.
probably at first out of that list, and then Devin Lloyd, the linebacker. But it seems that we kind of filled those positions, and Biotis just kind of gotten better. So
Yes, yes.
I'm, I mean, Farniak has kind of stepped up a little bit in the time that he's had to go in there. But I know you're big on the trenches, but like let's get to the game. Let's get to the game from
Okay.
yesterday because we won 25-10 against Washington. And the thing that I like to do with guests is I like to ask them pros and cons. So we'll start with our pros. So like, what are, I guess, some of your pros from yesterday's victory?
Pros from yesterday. I think the secondary is a big pro to me. I think that this secondary and honestly what they're going to be doing with their safeties, just the amount of gentlemen that you can roll out there, like the fact that Deron Bland had to go, just almost right before tip off, like right before they kicked the ball out, like he had to play. And it's just a testament to them getting guys that fit this defensive scheme and being able to plug and play them. I'm excited about the DBs. I think the DBs are a very high point of this team right now. And then as far as that's another pro, I think another pro is that you have put enough tape out there that shows that you can run the ball, that people actually respect your play action.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's an excellent point.
yeah, I mean, that was something I talked about on the show today, is that I think, and we saw last year, that teams at one point, like they just didn't care. They didn't believe you could run the ball, so they were not committing to try to stop the run. They were just dropping guys in coverage. And now, I mean, you look at it, I didn't get to look at the full all 22 yet, but like Cooper Rush is seeing, single high safeties. He's not seeing that too high shell like that, because they're like, they might still run this rock. Like they're going to still tote this rock. And even today, I didn't like that how they were running, because they were running into the teeth of that defense, which is Deron Payne and Allen. Like they were running right at them. But then I understood kind of what they were doing. They were setting up certain stuff too. So I kind of get it. Yeah.
Oh, do you mean that we were actually, we had a game plan to set things up?
Now, granted, I did not like the initial script. It wasn't my favorite. It didn't seem like it wasn't super successful to start, but they did adjust, and there were things that opened up later because they did get some yardage in the run game early in that game.
Gotcha. So some of my pros, I think Cooper Rush showed some composure yesterday in the game. It looked like it was a game that was going to be a tough one early on. And I think that he kind of stayed with whatever game plan they had in place. And once they did make adjustments to start getting CeeDee Lamb the ball in the middle of the field, I think at one point he got 3 catches in a row.
Yeah.
A couple off of play action fakes. I think that I like that a lot. I like that we adjusted on the touchdown throw to Gallup. He got out of the pocket. He wasn't just like the statue that we thought Cooper Rush was. He stepped up, was able to run a little bit, roll to the right, and dump it to Gallup in the corner of the end zone. That's something that comes with confidence. That's one thing that I talk about a lot. You can look at a football player, but if a football player has confidence, they become a different player. And you're starting to see Cooper Rush make more plays outside of the X's and O's. So that was an example of one of them. You took the words right out of my mouth with the secondary. I think that the secondary played lights out yesterday. I know that Anthony Brown gave up a touchdown, but outside of that, I can't think of too many other plays that Anthony Brown gave up yesterday. And even that was a very good throw with a very good young receiver, and the defensive line still, they're still shining. While we give the secondary credit, I mean, let's just think about why the secondary does have credit in the first place.
Yes.
I know that you love the trenches. Carson Wentz couldn't get comfortable all day. Washington had a game plan where they figured we're going to try and run at Micah early if they put him in the edge. And once we adjusted to that, Carson couldn't get comfortable in that pocket. We had a couple intentional groundings that are just as good as sacks. That defensive line is something that we're going to write home about. And
Yeah,
so,
go ahead. Sorry.
no, yeah. So I mean, hats off to those guys. You know, a lot of those guys, we knew that we would have a better rush, but defensive line was something that we said we needed to improve on. And some of these guys are some of the same guys, and they've just gotten better in the scheme. So
Yeah, so I agree. Like, to me, that would be the only weak point of this defense currently, is that you're seeing that teams are finding some success by running away from running away from Tank, running to that weak side of the offense, of the offensive line, well, defensive line rather, and they were killing us with the C gap. Like, they were killing, like, the
yeah,
contain.
yeah.
It
They were,
was like containment from the edges was not good. Couple of instances, but we've seen this in a couple of games. Like, am I tripping? Have we not
no,
seen?
no, no. Week one, that's all they did. And actually, Washington did it yesterday, where they attacked it to where Trayvon is the outside contained guy, and it's just an easy kick out because I mean he's not going to stand there and drop an anchor.
I mean, he got held a couple times too, but we're not gonna go there. But still, yeah, I mean, that's to me the only, I guess you would say, weak point of the defense. But even so, people are running the ball because they don't have a choice. Like, I think it is difficult to pass on this defense right now, because when you look at the total yardage, it's still not bad. Like, these teams aren't just coming out and killing you with both sides of the ball. Like, I think this Cowboys defense has the ability to make people one dimensional very often, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's actually funny because you might look at guys like Carson Wentz and Daniel Jones and expected us to really. Daniel Jones, we sacked him quite a bit. Carson Wentz, both of those guys can kind of move a little bit. Joe Burrow can move. Tom Brady can't move, but Tom Brady broke his own record with how fast he got rid of the football in that game. We're actually dictating to teams, if you don't get the ball out quick on screens, or if you're not able to run the ball, you're going to have a long day. Not everybody has quarterbacks that can get up out of there and get out of stuff. Daniel Jones showed you yesterday, if you had an opportunity to see him a little bit in that Bears game, he ran all over them.
yeah, I mean,
He was running for his life against us.
but he did it. He did it to the Cowboys as well. I think that some of these teams that the Cowboys are facing early are good practice, right? So, because when you start looking at, like, you got Philly in a couple weeks, right? They got guys in the middle of their defense that can stop the run the same way that we saw yesterday with the Commanders. So I think, for Kellen Moore to get the experience in encountering that and figuring that out is good practice for them, because also too, I mean, you have Darius Slay, I think, for the Eagles, but at the same time, like, he's dealing with injuries. You don't know if he's gonna be out there. I think you can take advantage of their secondary too. So I think that all of this is good practice for what they're gonna be facing in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, even this week, because you're going to be playing against probably the best player in football, in my opinion. I mean, I think Aaron Donald, I've been saying that for about the last 3 years. I think he's the best player in football. A lot of people love giving all of these praise to these quarterbacks and stuff like that. But talk to me about the guy that's facing double and triple teams and is getting double-digit sacks every year. Talk to me about that guy who changes the game, who changed the Super Bowl, honestly, because they pissed him off. Let's talk about that guy. And, I'm glad that Dak, they're probably slowing the roll of Dak. You kind of heard a little bit of things from Mike McCarthy today, how he wanted to see a whole week. I don't think that this is the week to bring him back with Aaron Donald coming to town. How do you feel about Dak's timetable as far as coming back?
I just want him to be, my thing is that I want him to be healthy. There's not in his time, right? Like, I feel like with the way that Cooper Rush is playing, I think that I would just keep him out there until Dak is ready. I just don't feel the need to rush him back. And then also too, dealing with something like that where you're talking about gripping the ball. We don't know how the ball's gonna be coming out of his hand yet. We haven't seen that. I just want to do it in his time. Like, that's how I feel. Like, if they say it's gonna take a week or two, it's gonna take a week or two. I would like, now granted, I think this Philly game is gonna be huge, right? Like, I really do. I think it's gonna be a big deal. But how do you feel, DMV, about them maybe bringing him back for the Philly game? Like, that to me is gonna be such a high stakes game, yo. Like, are you gonna go? I mean, no, you're not gonna go. Are you gonna go? Are you near that area?
Heck no, I'm not going to no Philly game. He's trying to get me killed.
But it's about to be lit in there because
Yeah.
I mean, by the time these teams see each other, this may be like one of the big defining moments for the division this year. And I'm just like, I don't know if at first I was like, yeah, I kind of wouldn't mind Dak coming back because it's a familiar opponent and all that stuff. But then I think like maybe that ain't the one. Maybe
Yeah.
this ain't the one to bring because that game's gonna be a big deal from how they're talking about it all week to the time that it's kickoff. It's gonna be a big deal.
Yeah. I feel like we'll know when the time is right for Dak to come back.
Tracking.
In the first half of the game yesterday, I was like, Cooper Rush is showing us that he is a backup quarterback. And he showed us that yesterday a little bit. I know we got the win. And I said to myself at halftime, I was like, I really want Cooper Rush to have a great second half. The reason that I wanted him to have a great second half is I don't want to rush Dak back. Yeah. I know that Dak is going to come back when Dak is ready. But if we would have lost that game yesterday, I think that the timetable goes a little bit faster. So getting a division win buys us a little bit more time. We're 2-0 in the division with the backup quarterback. So let's say we beat the Rams. I think we buy a little bit more time. We buy a little bit more time for that, even with that, because for me, my goal was I just need him to be 500 while Dak is out. But if he can continue to keep building wins, it's not that I'm like, oh, Rush is super hot. No, we're winning games because we're playing team football. And that's what a lot of people need to understand.
Yes, it's a collective effort. Like what, Brian Anger and his punting, that helps out the defense.
Yes.
Like, there's this that's the one positive I will take from this whole situation. Well, actually there's multiple, but seeing this team really collectively play, they're playing for each other right now. And I heard people talk about it a little bit, but Mike McCarthy deserves some credit here. Like he really does. It is not easy to win games with a backup quarterback. I don't care about and I understand that the defense is doing a lot. They're carrying, but those 3 or 4 drives in a game when they come out and they're like, we need to go score right now to get points, you can tell that there's urgency there and that there's planning that's been put in place for them to go score. I don't know. These guys are getting up and playing for each other. And I think that has a lot to do with the coaching and the staff. Like this is not, you don't always see this. We've seen quarterbacks go down in the past with the Cowboys and we knew right then that the season was over. And there's something to be said about these gentlemen like rallying around each other and to being a collective effort, because what you're getting from special teams is helping you too. Now, granted, they lost that battle yesterday, besides Brett Maher, because what's his name? What is his last name? I said it on the show. Their punter, the Commander's punter.
Yeah. Trust Way.
Oh man, I thought that Brian Anger was a weapon.
Oh yeah, Trust Way is like a all pro, like honestly, Pro Bowl type punter. I mean, he gets a lot of practice. He better be good.
Right. But he to me was the difference maker in that game yesterday. The way that he flipped that field, the Cowboys started from their 10, their 15. I mean, when they started, like when they got a touchback, I was happy because he was pinning them so deep, like close to their end zone. And when you do that, that closes, like I think it minimizes your playbook when you're that deep, like near the end zone. And you could tell that they were just pinning their ears back and coming after the Cowboys. So field position to me was the huge difference maker in that game. I think their special teams played pretty well in that regard.
They definitely did, but you know what we did to kind of offset that? We got a couple of first downs, whether we scored on the drive or not, and then we were able to take our all-pro punter and kind of pin them back. So we had a better shot of driving the long field than they did.
Yeah.
And they had trouble with that all day. So, I mean, they might have had the better punter yesterday, but we had the better offense, and we were able to combat it a little bit better. So, not to mention, we do have a top returner on our team as well.
Right.
And that helps with – so the things we're talking about right now, if people don't understand, are hitting yards. And hitting yards can win you a football game. Pinning teams back, field position, big returns. Like those things right there, they're not going to really necessarily show up on the stat sheet. So I'm glad that you brought that up because team wins everything, specials, defense, and really Cooper Rush made 2 throws in that game yesterday that weren't that put him slightly above your normal backup.
Mm-hmm.
That play I talked about with Gallup in the corner of the end zone, and that throw to CeeDee Lamb, that where he hit him with the corner post.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that he let that ball go before he even got out of his break.
Yeah.
And we talk about Dak being able to learn from Cooper Rush, and I laughed at it, but that is something right there where when he let that ball go, sometimes Dak, I don't know if he just doesn't really like anticipating when they're going to break, but Cooper let that ball go and he trusted his receivers. Sometimes I think Dak in his progression, instead of really, pressing, sometimes he just needs to be able to trust what he knows and, just kind of let it rip a little bit.
Well, that's something that's been brought up often. I heard Skywalker Steele talking about it earlier today, and it tracks, is the fact that they are really, when you start looking at, they were running a lot of option routes before, and I think, and it's crazy because I really do think the simplifying kind of this offense could be beneficial. Like the fact that they're playing football. I can't explain it. It reminds me a lot of how they're playing ball. Reminds me of how they did things when Dak first came in his rookie year.
Yes, right? Yeah.
It's very methodical. It's take big shots when they're there. I can't explain it. It's like work the clock, right? And so when you look at that, I look at how they're running the offense, and it's ran for almost like a rookie quarterback, right? Like in my opinion. But with Cooper Rush, to your point, I think he is doing a lot of stuff that makes me feel like, okay, this guy is a legitimate backup. In some instances, he maybe could play somewhere because he's looking off receivers with his eyes. I mean, he's drawing guys off sides. He's checking out of plays. There were a couple of times that he checked out into a run play when it was supposed to be a pass. I think that draw play was fantastic. I can't wait to get more information on that. Do you remember that? Like, it was early in the game. They were really close to getting a touchdown, and they went tempo, did a quick draw play to Tony Pollard. He got like 10 yards. It was out of nowhere. I like some of the decisions.
I do remember that.
Yes, I do. Some of his decision making is on point. Like he does make some good reads and make some good decisions sometimes. And I think that some of his mechanics, like they're not bad. Like they're not what I expected from Cooper Rush. I really think he has stepped his game up. And like you were saying, that he is more confident. So when you start talking about Dak Prescott, I think when we saw him week 1, he didn't have confidence in nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. He didn't have confidence. And to his credit, I think that the receivers are definitely playing with more urgency. They're playing for Cooper Rush. You see them in scramble drill. When they're scrambling, they're coming back to the ball. Like they're coming to help him out. Also, too, look at the willingness to block by the wide receivers, by the tight ends. It's a collective effort, right? And so when you look at that Bucs game, I didn't see that same collective effort. And so I think that a lot of this is just guys stepping up because they understand the place that they're in, and you have to compensate for a loss of like your quarterback at that level. So, yeah.
And let's keep in mind something too, that not a lot of people are talking about. When we look at these preseason games, most of these receivers, most of these linemen, who was their quarterback in these games?
Exactly.
It was Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush. And that's why I remember putting out tweets and people would kill me over it. I was like, I'm looking at Mahomes. I'm looking at Josh Allen. I'm looking at all these other top quarterbacks taking reps. Tom Brady's 40-year-old self took preseason reps. Mm-hmm. Why can't Dak go out there with this line he's going to work with? I mean, even if it's handing the ball off a couple of times, get him out there, get some chemistry, get them used to his cadence, get the receivers used to getting to the spots he likes to. Chemistry is everything. Continuity is everything. They thought that he was going to go out there, and it was different from the Bucs game of last year. He's been working with Amari for a couple years. He's been working with CeeDee for the second year going on. Dalton Schultz, he's been working with them. Most of those guys he was familiar with already. this young group, this young line, he was not familiar with. He needed to go out there and take some preseason reps, in my opinion. But
no,
Cooper Rush, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I agree. I talked about that on the show today because I looked at the scores. I mean, like if you just go look at the scores across the NFL, I mean, there were only 3, maybe 4 teams that got over 30 points yesterday. It's not happening right now, y'all. Like it's like I think that a lot of teams are in this, besides the Bills, the Chiefs, those guys who actually played in the preseason. With the shortening of preseason now and teams being afraid to play their starters, I think that the acclimation period is in the season now, right? So I don't think that we're going to see offenses really take off. They're already behind as normal. Like they're normally a little bit behind the defenses anyway, but I think that's exacerbated because of the lack of preseason. And also, as far as Dak Prescott, I would venture to say that one of the big reasons why he's not getting out there and get preseason reps is because I think they're just waiting for him to exemplify, I'm healthy for a prolonged period of time, right? Like, because he's just had these little nitpicky injuries that he keeps having. We'll see what happens next season if he's going to take some preseason reps. Because I do agree. I think there's something to be said by, I think actually Matt Owen sent me a stat after the show. He said that the NFL score, like the scores are the lowest that they've been in the last 12 years. Like it's the scoring percentages are lower than they've been for the last 12 years. And I think, and like we just talked about, preseason, that type of stuff, I think that has something to do with offenses not coming out and just firing on all cylinders to start. Like,
yeah, but it's weird though, because it's not just Dak I'm talking about. Zeke needed to be out there too.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
all of them.
Yeah, because for Zeke's biggest thing is, now I know last year he was kind of hurt, but Zeke throughout his career, remember, he's always been a notorious slow starter.
Yeah.
And then after weeks 4 to 5, then Zeke starts to get rolling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Zeke of old anyway. We don't know what this Zeke is. I still think Zeke had a pretty solid game yesterday with what was given. Washington
is fine. And honestly, too, I really, it makes me frustrated because look at his draft class, y'all. Like, let's be grateful. Like, granted, like Saquon is coming back and he's playing better right now, but this guy's longevity, finding longevity in a running back now is a big deal. And also, too, Zeke got a lot of miles on him. Like, don't forget what the Cowboys, how much usage he got in his first 2-3 years. Like, they really used him a lot in the run game. So if he's tapered off a little bit, sure. Yeah, absolutely. But I think this gentleman is still a high level running back in this league.
Definitely.
I don't see the regression to the extent that other people see it. And also I think it's difficult. I think people compare so bad because when you see Tony Pollard hit the hole and then you see Ezekiel Elliott hit the hole, it's two different things. But that's why they have value. Like, that's why they have value. Speaking of, how did you feel about TP not really getting any burn yesterday? Like,
he wasn't on. He wasn't on yesterday. And to be honest with you, that's 2 games he wasn't on, because he wasn't on in the Tampa Bay game. He wasn't on in the Washington game. It might be something said about teams that have really good fronts where Tony's not as effective, because Tony does, like, Zeke worked for everything he got yesterday. So you might look at the numbers and say, well, Zeke only ran for 2.8 yards or whatever. But I mean, Zeke worked for those, and a lot of those were clutch runs where we needed 3 yards, 4 yards. So a lot of people don't value those type of things. Mm-hmm. Tony wasn't getting those 3 to 4 yards on the runs that Zeke was getting yesterday.
And then also too, you got to look, because something that I've complained about terribly, like, is situational play calling, right? Like, or situational running, right? So which running back is appropriate for this defense? Which running back? Because when you look at we look back last year at the Kansas City game, we all said to ourselves, like, TP needs to play this game. He needs to play this game because the difference in speed and just how he played, I thought matched up well against what the Chiefs like to do. And so when you look at this game, when you look at the Commanders and what they do well, I mean, the strength of their defense is their defensive line. And
Yes.
at first I was like, why are they just running at the teeth of this defense? But then later in the game, you start to realize that they're trying to bruise them. They're trying to get these guys tired. They're trying to wear them out. So it's it makes sense. It makes sense for them to be using Ezekiel Elliott, because he is the guy that's going to seriously wear guys out and tire them out. And I think that you did see that paid dividends later on in the game from them continuing to stick with the run in the way that they did. Also, people hear the whispers. They know that TP's that guy. So you could start seeing people come in here and say, we want to take TP away. They may
Mm-hmm.
not like want to take Zeke away, but this guy is the guy that we're coming in here, and that is who we would like to negate on the offense.
Well, make no mistake, teams are still respecting Zeke, and you
Oh,
saw
sure.
that yesterday. And a lot of people don't understand that an effective run game isn't just running the football. We saw it, and we talked about this earlier. It opened up the middle of the field for us, and really, CeeDee Lamb has Zeke Elliott and TP to thank for the middle of the field that he was able to eat up yesterday. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Um, Michael Gallup going down the field, getting some penalties. That had everything to do with that run game and,
Mm-hmm.
and, and, and how Washington tried to play us. So teams have to figure out, it's like pick your poison. That's what I do like about Cooper Rush is his decision making in the play action game. Now, one thing that people want to negate when they talk about Dak Prescott is an excellent play action quarterback. We just don't do it enough.
That's like,
We,
honestly, that's why I've been losing my mind, because today I saw someone tweet that, Cooper Rush is like number one in the league against play action. I'm like, that was Dak in 2016.
That's
Like,
Dak last year and the year before that and the year before that and the year before
that
that.
that's a part of his game. And that's honestly, like I said, you can't run play action if you can't run the ball. And that's been one very big constant with the Cowboys. I think, like, obviously last year they had success early, but towards the end of the year, nobody cared that you were running the ball. They didn't take you seriously. So I really like the play action, I think, wasn't there for a lot of different reasons. It's there now. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, not between that and sometimes we need to be able to take some of our check downs
Yep.
effectively. And I think that Cooper Rush did a very good job of that yesterday, early in the drive. You talked about you weren't necessarily a fan of the script. This was something that was out of the script where he didn't see anything. Zeke found an open area. He just dumped it to him, and
So,
Zeke got about 30 something yards, you
mm-hmm.
know. So, that's something that, Steve Young could have probably worded it a little bit better when he said Dak needs to study Cooper Rush. I just think that he needs to, in my opinion, Dak needs to go back to the roots of what made him a quarterback. Because, see, I think that this front office, and I think Dak, they heard the whispers. Oh, he hasn't thrown for over 200 yards. He's winning games, but he hasn't thrown for over 200 yards. You look at Cooper Rush's stats, and I said this in an earlier video, they look like Dak's numbers from 2016.
They do. It looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
But it's
So,
it's it's simple. It's just not complicated. It's not. I don't really think it has to be complicated at this point, because you actually have guys on your offensive line that can move people. Like, it doesn't have to be that complicated right now. Also, too, I think we talked about Michael Gallup coming back. The having a vertical threat is everything. I think that him coming back really is going to continue to open up things, like you said too, because do too high shelf you want to do it.
yeah,
Please, we welcome it.
yeah.
And Gallup talked about it after the game, like, if they can't stop me, they can't stop me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A guy that's going to benefit from Dak coming back is going to be Dalton Schultz. I don't necessarily see Dalton Schultz really having a role too much with Cooper Rush in there, because we need that 12 personnel to run that football, but he don't block that well. So we need them young boys in there,
Yep.
Hendershot, Ferguson, to kind of help us there, So, you
They ran a
know,
lot of 11 yesterday.
they did. But the
Yeah,
times
they
that
ran.
they did, the times that and it's crazy because they ran a lot of 11, but we didn't see very much. Schultz had 3 targets, but he had no catches.
Well, I brought this up to Christy on the show today. And obviously, Peyton Hendershot has gotten, he's had a few catches, and Jake Ferguson here and there. But I feel like, and this could just be me, but I feel like this, now that Cooper Rush is in and they're depending on the run and stuff like that, I think that the tight ends, how much are the tight ends receiving options right now? Like, I just don't see it. Like, am I tripping, or is it because they're blocking so much? And I don't know if Cooper Rush is just not looking at them a whole bunch, but I just feel like Dak was obviously way more tight end, security blanket type, whatever. And he's not looking at the tight ends to bail him out, though. Like, am I tripping?
Yeah, but it's also a good thing because, Noah Brown is playing phenomenal football right now. He's eating up the middle of the field. He's also getting screens and making plays that I don't even know if our tight ends would make. Schultz he'll catch a pass in the middle, but is he making anybody miss and getting that extra 5 yards, 10 yards? Noah Brown has low key kind of became the tight end of our offense since Cooper Rush has been the quarterback. And if we think about it, how long has he been throwing to Noah Brown in practice? Or they're very comfortable with each other. So while Dak was comfortable with Schultz and those tight ends, Witten, when he first came in, scout team has been Noah Brown, Cooper Rush. So, that's a safety blanket. You just got to kind of look at it that way.
And I think Noah is important to what they're doing moving forward too, because, well, he has been, obviously Michael Gallup coming back changes a few things, but I think that the fact that, you remember when he would go on the field, people would know that this is a run play. Like, and now that he's gained like respectability as a real, threat in the passing game, I think that that's just another wrinkle that you add to your offense that keeps people guessing, because when he lines up, like, I know for a fact people would see 85 and be like, oh, they about to run it, because we would do the same thing when he would trot out on the field. But now you don't know if he's going to block you into the dirt, because he will, or if he's going to go out there on a quick out and make you pay. And I think that there's something to be said. Like, he's really ascended as a real receiving option. And I respect it. Like, I respect him.
Yeah. And I haven't thought about it until talking to you. But we've been clamoring for 12 personnel. But what if 12 personnel is with Noah Brown in there? What if Noah Brown, you know what I'm saying? Because he definitely will, you know what I'm saying? We can pin and pull behind Noah Brown and do some of the same things that we could do with tight ends.
You're right. You're actually right. He actually does do a lot of tight end-esque type things. That's actually okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because remember they were talking about Semi doing that role. They were talking about it. But maybe that's Noah Brown, and then quiet as kept, they just haven't really noticed that it's really 12 personnel with Noah out there. And he's just been that split wide. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's just, you look at some film and see, like, okay, like, where they line them up, how they using them.
Because honestly, I kept asking myself, why are they in 11? Not that anything's wrong with 11, but there were quite a few instances where I was like, why are they not? So they ran. I feel like they did run 12. I haven't watched all 22, but I felt like they ran 11 personnel more than they did 12, and maybe it's just disguised with Noah Brown, like you said. We're gonna have to look at that. That's good stuff.
It's interesting. If you think about where the areas are that he's running his routes, it's damn near where Schultz or where Witten would be. They just kind of simplified it. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So. Interesting to think about. We probably just unbunked something right here that nobody even really knows. It came here first, everybody. Just remember that.
How do you feel about the linebacker play? I wasn't able to get into it a whole bunch on the show, but I feel like Anthony Barr is kind of like up and down right now. I feel like
I think he's rusty.
Yeah, he's getting his legs under him as well. Yes. But what do you feel about Leighton Vander Esch? I feel like it's a mixed bag. I hear some people very happy with his play, and then other people.
I didn't like him yesterday. I liked him in the Giants game. I liked him in the games previous. I didn't like him yesterday. I thought yesterday there they were kind of he was getting caught in the wash a little bit yesterday, especially when they were running the ball very well. Him and Barr, at the times that they were attacking Micah and kicking Micah out, we weren't getting the linebackers filling into the C gap like they should have been. You know what I'm saying? Flowing. And I don't know if it was that our D line was getting pushed and they were getting to the linebackers, but it just didn't seem like Leighton was scraping and getting there, you know?
Yeah, it was a mixture of both. Like, they quite a few times you see Anthony Barr and Leighton motioning too, to make the play. They just don't have the speed to get there. Like, they just don't have the speed, in my opinion, to get there, the sideline to sideline. And this is something we've seen the last couple of weeks, like I was saying, like screens, people, because that's what they got to do. Honestly, that's what they have to do, offenses, to actually get anything going on the ground. And what they're doing are like doing tosses or screens or whatever. And these teams are seeing some success with it because, I mean, granted, I think that the defensive line needs to contain the edge better in certain rotations. But then also, too, those linebackers got to come in and fill their gaps well. So I'm curious, like, are you one of those folks that really is like, let Micah play edge all the time? Or are you one of those folks that's like, I want him to be a linebacker and then rush the passer situationally?
I think that it depends on the game. And I think that we found that out yesterday because before yesterday, I was keep him on the edge all the time until I saw what Washington was doing when they were really kicking him out. Yep. And he wasn't big enough to really, stop anything right there. Yep. And you can see throughout the course of the game, too. It wasn't just this game, but it was the Giants game. He's getting worn out a little bit. Yep. He's getting worn out. You can see him even in the Bengals game. So we got to be conscious of that as well, that he's not one of these big guys. And those guys are getting a lot of guys rotating in for him. Micah's on the field every damn play. Mm-hmm. At one point, he was about to come off yesterday, and they pushed him and kept him on the field. I don't know if you remember that. I'm one of those people that don't have to really. So I know that a lot of guys watch film and they watch the All-22, and you're one of them. You guys watch the All-22 and you guys study that. I've been coaching long enough that I can remember certain things in the game, and it stays up here, and I can just remember it. I don't have to watch All-22. But I just allow people, like, that's not my lane. I allow all of the other guys to really watch All-22. I could watch a telecast and tell you exactly what they're doing, what they found, what weakness. I've been doing it for a long time. I've been coaching for about at the high school level. I was coaching for about 12 years. I played college ball, so I kind of know what I'm seeing when I look at it. And yeah, I mean, yesterday, early on, their game plan was we're going to run at Micah on the edge. At times when we see Trayvon has to set the edge, we're going to check and we're going to run at him. Tom Brady made a living out of it on week 1, and Washington tried to duplicate it. Yeah, and I personally think, with what's going to help that is when you get like a J-Ron Curse back, and then you got your 3 safeties on the ground. I think that'll help with the run defense. I think that will help with, we're just going to go at Trayvon Diggs' side. Like, Yeah. Because Trayvon's coming down here with bad intention. So, do what you got to do. So I think things will get better there. But I am, especially going into this Rams game, where are you going to put Micah at? Well, what's going on? Because the linebacker play, I think, is going to be very important because Sean McVay likes to get his receivers, his top guys, on linebackers. And right now, it looks like our guys are, struggling in space in certain areas. So that's just something to look out for. I'm looking for, with Micah especially, like, you can tell teams are going at him, and I'm worried about his longevity. Like, I've always felt like that because playing DN is vicious, man. Like, you got to think about how many times they're bringing people to chip him, how many guys are getting free shots at him. You saw in game 1, like, Leonard Fournette just laid it on him just because the sky was blue. And guys are going to do that. They're going to do that if he's out there playing in because it comes with the territory, right? Yeah. And so I'm really hoping that they protect him better. If that's like, and use him situationally better. This, to me, they realized it and they corrected it.
But yeah, I don't know if I want to keep seeing him get beat up in the run game like that. Cause I mean, it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Like they were struggling over there to get off blocks.
Well, it's going to help because we probably get J-Ron Curse back this week. So that'll definitely help us. But the things that the Rams like to do, the Rams like to use a lot of lateral motion, lots of jet sweep, lots of razzle dazzle misdirection, so that I can get crossing routes. With Cooper Kupp, they're more so the option routes, the China routes, like you said, they're trying to get Cooper Kupp on linebackers and stuff. This might be the game that I probably would rush Micah a little bit more. I don't necessarily want Micah caught in no man's land with the Cooper Kupp or one of those receivers, or and really the Rams aren't going to run it down your throat. They're not that type of team.
No, they're not. They're not. And honestly, too, when you look at all the motion and the sweeps and all the stuff they do, it's honestly just to help out their offensive line, because their offensive line is not, the loss of Andrew Whitworth is really showing them that they have some things to shore up. And so I think a lot of all of the stuff that they do, just like Washington, they do a lot of motion on stuff. It's decoration. They trying to help out their guys because they understand that power on power is not it for them. So I'm in regard to Micah, where I'm at with it is I love when he's rushing the passer. I would like for them to be, smart about it, preserve his body, take care of him. We are early in the season. This is early in the season. He grabbing at his ribs. He's grabbing at his back. He's tired, right? So let him, run that linebacker position. Because another thing, too, is like, I think you have guys that can get to the quarterback on their own on the D line. You don't always have to bring him. Is he a fantastic person to, bring? But, like, you have other guys that can rush the passer at a high level as well. So,
yeah,
I just, take care of him. Take care of him. He's a star. I don't want to see that no more. That's one of the reasons why I'm nervous to look at the all 22. I'm serious, because when they got going to that left side, they were just like, okay, we're just gonna keep, and it was not pretty for like 3-4 plays. It was just constant.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it definitely was. And I'm glad that you brought that up. The things that the Rams will do, that the Rams like to do, because like I'm a play caller, so my favorite play callers in the game are Andy Reid and Sean McVay for different reasons. One thing that Sean McVay likes to do is he loves the bunch formation. He'll run a whole bunch of emotions and all of that stuff out of it. And it'll all look like it's the same formation, but he can run like 80 different plays out of it, 80 different things out of it. But if he don't have the line to hold up, it's very tough, and it limits him to what he can do. He's going to try and scheme your ass to death. He can remember everything about everything. But if you could simplify it to where it's like, hey, Sean, you could try to scheme us all you want, but your quarterback's hitting the ground.
Yep.
To figure something out, and if we could somehow nullify the run early on and make it to where Matt Stafford has to, throw that football like in the Bills game, like what the Bills did to him. You seen what Von Miller was able to do.
Yeah, like there's, no matter who this defense plays, there's going to be favorable matchups somewhere. Like it's going to be, there's too many, like you have a star almost at every level. And then you have DeMarcus Lawrence just being like, hey, remember me? Hi guys, I'm here too. Yeah. So I think that, I really do think that, and going back to the original point, talking about Micah, man, like I just am at this point, I hope that they look at what they saw and they adjust to it, because this is something that the more you put it on tape, the more people gonna see it, right? And this has happened consecutively in different weeks with different teams, and they've seen success. So I hope that they shore that up and just continue to take care of him and let him play linebacker a little bit more sometimes, because it is a huge difference when he's playing linebacker. I'm telling you, like you be like, oh, 2 yards, 3 yards, like it'd be nothing when he's out there.
But it depends though, because in the Tampa Bay game when he was playing linebacker, they were running on us like crazy. When he went to the edge against one of their young linemen, it shut down one side of the field with what we were doing, and then they started going the other way, and then they started running where they were just getting tackles on Trayvon Diggs, and that's how they were running the football. We just have to be smart in how we do it. But like I said, the one thing I'm interested in doing, and if I'm you, I go and check out the first week, the Rams game and the Bills, and see what they were able to do with Von Miller off the edge. Because in that game, the Rams were having success early, and then all of a sudden, right at halftime, Von Miller gets a sack in the pressure or something of that nature and changes the entire game. And they weren't able to do anything the rest of that game. So I'm very interested to see what Dan Quinn can cook up.
And it's interesting because also when you look at the Rams, I think a lot of people, you know, were worried about the Cowboys, like, oh, they lost Amari Cooper, they lost all this. Hey, Cooper Kupp looking like that's almost it over there. They do have another young guy that they're really working with right now, receiver, young guy. But for the most part, like their receiver core are a lot of people you don't know either, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure things out as well. You have an offense over there that's still trying to get their legs under them as well. So we'll see. I'm the most excited about this matchup than I have been about any other game to start this season, because the chess match between Dan Quinn and Sean McVay.
Yeah, that's what you live for. You live for stuff like that, right? Yeah.
I'm ready. I am so ready, because you have two really great minds in this game trying to figure out, like Sean McVay is like, I'm not working with a lot. I'm trying to figure this out. And Dan Quinn's like, I'm working with a lot and I'm trying to figure this out. I cannot wait to see what they do this week.
Well, it's like, is Dan Quinn really working with a lot, or is it a lot because Dan Quinn made it a lot? Because if you look at, I said it. Yeah, I know I said it because we got to ban the misfits, right? We got to ban the misfits that, you know what I'm saying? Like if I told you we got Dorrance Armstrong, like look at our D line. Nobody's going to take that and trade that for their defense anywhere else. But Dan Quinn knows how to push the right buttons.
Yeah. I think it's defensively what they have built and what they have done is, to me, it's impressive. Because when you look at like when other teams, right, like when Micah goes off the field, right, they like, okay, we can do this now. We can do this now. We can do this. No, like granted, Micah's Micah, but they typically, with the Cowboys defense, if one guy goes off the field, you don't get a break. You don't say, okay, we got a couple of drives with this guy on the sideline. Let's get it in right now. No, I mean, your nickel starting corner went down yesterday before the game, and you put in an undrafted free agent, and he got busy. What you mean? That's not normal. That's not normal.
Then Deron Bland comes in, gets that pick, baby.
It's not normal for guys to be able to step in like that. Hey, we didn't get to talk about it on the show today, but I'm proud of Kelvin Joseph. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh, he's doing this. He's balling right now. He's the best. He's like the best special teams player in the game right now. They weren't lying when they said that.
Listen, it's so crazy because you look like we were hearing like they were CJ Goodwin. You know, they were talking about, oh, he may not make the 53 and stuff. Man, listen, if they're training up KJ to be, and then also too, most teams only have one ace. They only have one.
We got two.
You got two, and they meeting at the returner, whispering to him. They were whispering to the man. I said, okay. So when you start talking about, you know, three facets of the game, you getting that energy from your special teams, like your punters pinning guys deep, and your coverage is good. From Kelvin Joseph, just seeing him, he's earning it, right? He's earning it. We were all worried about the off the field stuff and what is he going to do this year. And to see him say, okay, this is what they're giving me, right? They're giving me special teams. I know I'm going to have to earn their trust or whatever. And he's coming out there balling. I'm definitely proud of him. And I like that. I mean, because granted, he's a second round pick. You know, a lot of people felt a lot of way. But getting something from him on special teams is a big deal. Like it's a big deal. I don't want to take it away from what he's doing because he looks good.
Yeah, he does. And it's big ups to you for actually bringing that up. So one last thing I want to ask before we kind of close things out.
Mm-hmm.
So Curtis Liggins asked questions. How will Dallas Cowboys offense attack the Rams defense?
So one thing I've seen about the Rams, and it's crazy because it's similar to the Cowboys, is that their defensive line, they can get upfield real quick, right? Like they're very aggressive. and you can use their aggressiveness against them. Like you can get these guys to share, especially when you start talking about Aaron Donald and those guys. Granted, like they are looking for the sack here. Like I'm not saying Aaron Donald is terrible in run defense. I just think that's the weaker part of his game, and that's me personally. So I think that there are some things you can do to them on the ground. For sure, I'm not super overwhelmingly impressed with the linebacker play either. That's just me, but you can tell me you can tell me what you think. I think you can attack them on the ground.
Yeah, I think you can attack the middle of the field. Yes, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And also too, they rely a lot on Jalen Ramsey playing a lot of man coverage on your number one. Mm-hmm. So in this game, it's like, who's your number one? You know, because Michael Gallup is back. So it's like we're not your typical team where it's like we're going to trot that X receiver out there and he's just going to follow him around. Mm-hmm. Jalen Ramsey, I don't think he follows anybody. And if Michael Gallup is back and he's healthy, I like his physicality to deal with Jalen Ramsey and get him in between him and the football. I mean, hell, if you think about that game that we lost, he had Jalen Ramsey beat dead to rights, and the refs made a terrible call.
Yeah, that call. Yeah, you're right. That's a matchup, but that's a matchup that I think Michael Gallup. You're right. Like I think that's a matchup Michael Gallup's not going to stray away from. I expect for them to take advantage. I expect for them to take advantage of what they can do on the ground game, and it's going to be maybe a similar situation to this game. It's like we're going to run the ball, see if it's going to open up the pass. Like they do have holes on their defense. They're not the same team that they were a couple of years ago. They might get up to play. I mean, it's the Cowboys, you know, but also too, we didn't talk about it. DMV Cowboys fans be deep in LA.
Yeah. Dude, we don't have trouble getting fans there. And we don't necessarily play terrible there either. We don't play terrible. We just haven't eked out a win there yet. So maybe we're due.
The run this time. You gotta stop the run this time. Speaking of, I think Quinn Bohanna, we got some injury updates from them earlier today. Quinn Bohanna sounds like he's gonna be good to go. And then who's the other gentleman that got hurt yesterday? Oh, Noah Brown as well. So Quinn Bohanna, I think, is really played well too. What you think, DMV?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, both of those guys, him, OC. I think the interior has done a very good job, especially of keeping the pocket. You know, especially in passing downs, of keeping the pocket from being that deep pocket that they are normally used to. Mm-hmm. And guys like Dante Fowler. DeMarcus Lawrence can kind of get to the quarterback. Dorrance Armstrong can get to the quarterback. So they've done a pretty good job. That's why teams have had to attack us in the C gap, because those big fellas aren't that easy to move. You know what I'm saying? So
they can't get anything up the middle, so they're attacking the edges. It's people are doing to us what we trying to do to people. It's funny. It's just kind of how football works, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by. Where can the people find you? Because I mean, I already know about the Girls Talk, but tell everybody where they can find you. I also know that you have your own content as well, so feel free to tell everybody.
Yeah. So I was on Vacha's. I was on Vacha's show the other day, and I was saying I do have my own content, but I am really transitioning into this new job, this new situation. This is a big change for me, like huge change for me. I'm also newly retired from the Army. So this whole transition has been very sudden for me. So I am going to get back into, my own personal videos and things like that. But for now, you can find me on Twitter. It's Aisha with 2 eyes. It's not an L. I'm telling you right now, it's going to fail you if you type in Leisha. I'm telling you. Aisha with 2 eyes. And you can follow me on Twitter. I'm very interactive. I will speak to you. And then Girls Talk, Boys Talk every day, 4 o'clock. Dallas Cowboys.com. We're on YouTube, or you can find us live on Twitter.
All right. Well, yeah, everybody, please, tune in to DallasCowboys.com at 4 o'clock every day, so you can see this beautiful face right here. All right. And appreciate everybody for stopping by. We try and have the best Monday panel discussions every Monday. So appreciate you. See you guys next Monday. All right. Peace.
Bye.